Alright, let's talk about the latest state of play. And I have to admit something that honestly surprised me more than half the trailers themselves. I went into this show expecting the worst. I expected another hour of safe corporate trailers, CGI smoke, and games designed by spreadsheets. But somehow, I walked away thinking, okay, that was actually better than I thought. Not perfect, not mind-blowing, but definitely not the disaster I mentally prepared for. So let's go through this step by step. First of all, the pacing. For once, it didn't feel like Sony just threw random trailers at us, hoping something sticks. There was variety. Big titles, smaller projects, weird experiments, nostalgia bombs, and even a few surprises. And one of the biggest surprises for me was Control, Resonant. Now this looked interesting. Remedy doing what Remedy does best. Reality bending, physics going completely wild, environments that feel alive and slightly uncomfortable in the best possible way. The gameplay showed gravity manipulation, dynamic combat, and a tone that feels darker and more confident than before. If they don't mess this up, Control Resonant could easily be one of the strongest releases coming out of this lineup. But then came a reveal that made me raise an eyebrow. The new John Wick game. Because licensed games are always risky territory. They're either fantastic, or they feel like a marketing contract with animations. But this one? Stylish third-person action, heavy gun-fu vibes, cinematic environments? If the combat really captures the rhythm and brutality of the films, this could actually be something special. I'm cautiously optimistic here. Alright, come on, let's address the controversial one. Coming to Marathon. New gameplay footage, new trailer, Bungie pushing hard with a preview event. But honestly, I still believe this game is heading straight toward a wall. Because to me, it feels like Bungie is building a game completely disconnected from the audience they created with Destiny. Most Destiny players are casual shooter fans. They want fast sessions, loot, fun chaos with friends. What Marathon looks like instead is a hardcore extraction shooter that punishes mistakes and turns frustration into a gameplay feature. And history has shown us something very simple. When developers start designing games for a hardcore vision instead of their real player base, things usually don't end well. You can already see warning signs in the general hype levels and community reactions. I'll try it, sure, but right now Marathon feels less like Bungie's next big success and more like a very expensive example of developing past your own audience. Moving on. Pragmata still looks weird in the best possible way. A strange, sci-fi fever dream that refuses to explain itself, and honestly, that makes it interesting. Then we got Resident Evil Requiem. At this point, Capcom basically walks onto the stage and says, "Relax, you're going to buy this anyway." And yeah, they're probably right. Coming to Kena, Scars of Cosmora. Bigger world, more mature tone, expanded gameplay systems. Feels like a natural evolution instead of just more of the same. And then we had Castlevania, Belmont's Curse. A proper 2D action exploration return that made a lot of old-school fans wake up immediately. Of course, Sony couldn't resist dropping some nostalgia bombs. God of War, Sons of Sparta arriving instantly, plus a remake announcement for the Greek trilogy. Predictable? Yes. Effective? Also yes. There were also plenty of smaller reveals. Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, Saros, Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2, Star Wars Galactic Racer, and several smaller projects. And honestly, that variety saved the show from feeling stale. So what's my final verdict? I expected a train wreck. Instead, I got a state of play that was surprisingly balanced, occasionally exciting, and actually had a few titles that made me genuinely curious. Control, Resonant, looks strong. John Wick could be a sleeper hit. Marathon, well, we'll see. But overall, yeah, I didn't hate it. and that alone might be the biggest surprise of the night.